Good evening. Just want to check, is my screen visible? Yes, all right, thank you. What do we have? I see the team here. All right, let me just quickly share my camera. All right. Online, I think maybe we can kick off from here. All right. Yeah, good evening. Sorry for starting a few minutes after 6, but I think we good to go. Welcome. Thank you so much for your time this evening to attend this welcome session. For us, it's an opportunity to continue our reflection on the recent program we've had, as well as the recent results. I think what transpired this year was something that was quite unexpected from our side. And I think since then we've been asking ourselves some questions in terms of what could have gone wrong. Sometimes the answers look a little bit obvious and sometimes not so much. But from my side, I always believe that, yeah, one could never have all the answers, especially if we are not engaging with the likes of yourself, those that went through the experience, and probably you have a better answer to it. But I think the reality sometimes is that, yeah, even as much as one will have gone through the experience, it does not mean that the answers come as obvious as one will seem. And through those kind of questions that we've been asking ourselves, we did realize that even from our side, there's quite a lot of opportunity for us to do a little things a little bit differently. And at the end of the day, thinking about you, thinking about what is it that could really then get you over the line. So some of those things are some of the things that I'm going to share with you today. But I do invite each and every one of you to engage and to really then talk in terms of some of what's on your mind, in terms of maybe what in your reflection you've come to realize this is what you need, this is what we are looking for. And I think from my side, this is something that myself as well as the team are keen to hear, and to the extent that we can even implement it in this upcoming course. It's something that I'm sure even the team will be keen on looking into it. And yeah, so please, as we go through this presentation, don't see it as one-sided conversation. Don't think about it as yeah, whatever I say you have to take. One of the things that I always encourage my students, it's always that in a professional environment, it's very difficult to get to the right answer. Um, and the idea is that sometimes the right answer is not sitting with one person, but through a collaborative kind of efforts, asking questions, refining whatever one has on the table in order to get to really that one thing that can achieve the best results for everyone. And from our side, this is something that we are very, very much committed to say that everyone that is enrolling into our program, we want to see them a success. We want to see them beyond this particular part of the journey. We want to see them go through the APC and eventually become a highly successful chartered accountant. I don't know your reason for that. It could be you want to turn your own situation around. It could be you want to positively impact your family. It could be you want to change the world, or just be the next billionaire. So the ambitions are very different here. But I think at the end of the day, we recognize that our role is your partner in this particular journey, and we want to help you to get there. Um, and that is the theme, that is the commitment, the dedication that everyone in our team is focused on, to say, how do we then ensure that we deliver success to you, understanding that the program that we put, it's a partnership program. There will be elements where we need to push you, and there will be elements where we expect you to push us. And that is always something that we have recognized as part of our DNA. And therefore, even when we put this program together, we didn't shy away from that. We really um, applied our minds to say that which aspect and at which point do we want to be, say, the team leading, and at which point do we want the candidates to be leading their own developments, and we just become their partner. And as we unpack today the program in tonight's session, I hope that it becomes clearer what we'll then be expecting of you and what you can expect from us. And I think sometimes it's also just important to recognize some of the key elements to one's success, or rather to a successful program. And these are some of the things that even in this particular setting, we have really gone back and say, what is it that is critical. Can we just teach someone IFRIS, work through questions on IFRIS, and that's it? And you will see that for us, that's not the start and the end of it. There are critical elements like your wellness, efficient program administration. And those are some of the themes that we've now incorporated quite strongly in this upcoming course in order to just ensure that you are success. But at the end of the day, it's all about you, and we are here to support you in this particular journey. Because at the end of the day, yes, you have to go sit for that assessment, whether one could say we deliver the best program. At the end of the day, you have to sit, you have to be the one who deals with the nerves on the day, you have to be the one who deals with the surprises, complexity, and even now dealing with the new assessment format. What is there to expect? And those are some of the things that um, we've been looking and working closely with SAICA to just better understand and empower ourselves so that we can be an effective empowerment tool for you as well. So there's quite a lot that we've learned um, over the past couple of months, and even more so, it's some of the things that we have learned through our APC professional program that we will want to make sure that by the end of the program you've gotten and you are well on your way to what? To become a success. So with that in mind, let me just then share the agenda that I've got for tonight. So the agenda that I've got for tonight, it's quite simple. It's under 5 sections, which some I've then grouped together because I felt that they are more aligned. Excuse me. Firstly, for those that are joining us for the first time, my name is Rendani. I am the course academic head as well as the CEO of the organization. My role as the academic head for the IAC, still a little bit of a tongue twister for me. It's really to immerse myself into understanding what is expected, and to then, along with my team, put together a program that meets the needs and the vision of SAICA, as well as to empower you in that vision, to make sure that you don't go there unprepared, you don't go there surprised, but you go there and say that, this is something that I've come to understand what it's all about, and this is the best way to tackle it. So that's my role in a nutshell. And sometimes you will see me in some of the classes around accounting or management accounting and finance, but there's a much bigger team that will then be delivering majority of the program, but will engage quite a lot, especially with all these changes that one can expect in the new assessment format. You'll see me when I'm doing the additional videos that are focused on the PVAs, that are focused on the CA of the future, and some of the kickoff sessions are the ones that I'm going to be looking at next week. So that is just me. And then I've got a couple of team members that have joined me tonight. These are the team from candidate support perspective, the course administration, and coordination. So these are the people that will be looking after you from a coordination as well as administration perspective. Then the next element will then be to just unpack the CA of the future competency framework. This was previously known as the CA 2025, And some of you might already be in such a training program, and you will have now come to realize that CA 2025 is something that has now evolved to CA of the future, which now is better or well captured into what we call that integrated thinking framework. Then we're going to talk about the new assessment format to just say what can you expect, and therefore how do you start thinking about it the same way that Psycha wants you to think about it. Then after having gone through that, we'll then talk through our what? We'll then talk through our preparatory course, what we've put together in order to help you, in order to make sure that whatever is expected of you in the CA of the Future competency framework, you are well aware and you are well prepared to handle it. Then, from a program administration, we've had a lot of changes since our recent sitting. And it is just a matter of our annual reflection to say, sure, every year there's one, two, three, and a number of things that don't go as well as we'll have loved. And we always take the opportunity to reflect and make sure we implement changes. And there are quite some notable changes for this year that I would like to also talk to you about, just to make sure you are well acquainted with the changes and are clear about how to best engage and get the support that you need from us. Then I've put any questions at the end, but please feel free to ask questions as you go. As I said, I've got my team with me. So if you want to chat, please drop a chat and the team will handle it. If you've got a question that you want to just raise your hand in order to ask, don't also hesitate to do so. So we are here to make sure that you really understand the program that you're considering and that you're going to be part of over the next 3 months. So it's a very big commitment. We acknowledge that. And we just want you to make sure you're choosing this program because it will meet your need. We are always mindful that there's quite a lot of work to go through. 3 months sometimes is not enough. And sometimes it will feel like, yes, we are a little bit of pushing you, but at the end of the day, we are saying that we want to make sure you are where you need to be by the end of what? By the end of this program. So let's go for it. So first of all, and I think for those that were previously with us, whether from a CTA support or in any of our recent ITC courses, one of the biggest change that you will see is that the logos have changed. We are now Endunamu Africa, and this sits under what? Endunamu Africa stroke IAC. So that's the kind of biggest change in terms of our branding and who we are that you'll get to see during our classes, during our documents, that this is how this now looks like. And just to make sure that even from a documentation perspective, all our documentation are busy being updated in order to reflect this new corporate profile. But let's get to the agenda of the day. So the CA of the Future Competency Framework, what is it about? What is it that is expected of you? How do you then become aware and make sure that the program that you are therefore going to be choosing is going to help you? Because for me, I think the reality is that it can't be business as usual. There needs to be a change in how we do things. There needs to be a change on how we engage with each other because the world, as well as the profession, is changing. So this is something that's quite important. But one needs to understand what is informing this change. What is it all about? And has it been something that has been around? And the answer to some of those questions, yes, this is something that has been around, but what is now becoming the issue is that there's more clarity in terms of what is expected, whether it's us expecting something from you, or is the profession expecting something from you, or are the employers. So there is that better clarity, and that clarity is really captured in the CA of the future competency framework. And the best way to represent it is to represent it in these three bubbles that combine together and highlight what we call integrated thinking. So what Psycha's vision it's all about is that at the end of the program, or at the end of your qualification journey, you will become what they call a responsible leader, or a responsible leader in business. And this is very important because we have had stories of questionable leadership. We have had stories about things that you always wonder what is happening to the world, and so on. And what then the profession has always demanded, and which is now much more clearer, is for us to be responsible business leaders. But what does that mean? A responsible leader is therefore someone who behaves ethically and is focused on creating sustainable value. And these are the principles that are therefore embedded in this academic journey, and therefore will then expect to see more of in future assessments. But one needs to understand what does it mean to, or what is the expectation? And the expectation is quite simple. The expectation is that your competence, or what we expect when we say we need a CA, we are no longer just looking for specific accounting technical expertise, but we are looking for more than that. We are looking for people that have got those attributes that talk to excellence, that talks to um, what do you call it? Emotional intelligence, that are effective communicators, that are empathetic, that are critical thinker, that have got a very good grasp of a business, and those that are always mindful of the people in their decision making, and therefore well positioned to think in an ethical manner. So that is what is now expected of us. That in whatever you do, it doesn't matter whether for profit, public sector, private, this is what we're going to expect to be you to be a responsible leader in business. But as you can see, the specific technical competencies are still required, but it's just we want a little bit more. And this bubble right here, that is in the CA of the Future Competency Framework, captures it nicely. It talks about technical competencies, which I'm sure you know, these are what you call the major disciplines, as well as the related disciplines in strategy, risk management, and governance. Then, in addition, there is personal values and attitudes, to say that, these are the kind of things we speak about, to say that, before even that guy introduced himself as CA, I knew he was a CA. So this is like that presence that you bring in the room, and people say, we know that this one is a CA or not, because of the attributes, the values that they possess, and the way that they handle themselves. And it's something that talks to what is then expected of you. Then additionally, there is this enabling competencies bubble, which talks about the things that really enable us to apply the technical. So this will then be our ability to communicate effectively. And from an exam technique, from an exam perspective, this is like exam technique that you could know the answer, you could have a legitimate need. But when you talk to your boss, when you talk to your manager, the message is not getting through because of those lack of enabling competencies. So these are some of the things that what the profession it's all about, that one needs to possess all these things. And when they are possessed and one has got them together, they are able to think in an integrated manner. That before I speak, I need to be mindful of my emotions. I need to be mindful of the people I'm speaking to. I need to be mindful. It does not mean that I don't have the answer. Yes, the answer is that, yes, we made a loss this year, but it could worry my employees if I say it just like that. So when we are saying that you are now an integrated, or you're thinking in an integrated manner, you are able to bring all those things together. So yes, even from an exam perspective, when we talk about integrated thinking, it's not just limited to you handling text and so on together, but it's also a matter of your ability to think through, to manage yourself, to be able to recognize that this same set of information can be looked at in these so many dimensions, and therefore are able to demonstrate the competence that is what expected of you. So for me, this is a very important and very powerful slide, because I will essentially want you to take it, paste it, and say, this is the kind of CA I want to be. I want to be, when they say, there's a position for a board seat and so on, that when they think about me, they think that I will then not only add value from what? From a financial perspective, but I'll add value beyond that, and I'll be someone that can be able to be trusted with the organization's resources because I'm an ethical leader in business. So that's it right here. And this is therefore what examiners have when they prepare for the next assessment, to say that how do we then make sure that the people or candidates entering into their profession have got this set of skills that talk to this CA of the future competency framework. Then, when it comes to technical competencies, as I clarified a little bit earlier, is that these are the specific technical competencies that we've come to know very well. Our accounting, our financial management, taxation, audit, costing or MDMC, strategy, risk management, and governance. So these are the things that are not going to change even in the new assessment format. These are the things that are still going to be the core of the IAC as well as the APC. And these are the things that you, when you're thinking about a job, you will then say, I want to be in auditing, I want to be in tax, I want to be. So this will continue to remain to be relevant. And it's very important to then demystify that this is going to change in any way, because it cannot be that the assessment can change when the world has not changed. And the world still requires competent people. We have seen SARS becoming even more aggressive. So people are gonna need what? Are gonna need professionals that understand the tax legislation, that are able to advise them on the best tax outcomes. We are still seeing companies being liquidated, companies having to grow, companies having to fend off competition. So strategy, costing, and financial management are still going to be relevant. So let's get it out of the mind that there's going to be a change, or there's going to be a shift from these technical competencies. These are going to be fundamental in our journey. What is now going to be a possibility, it's examiners now better integrating them into the world around us. And how do they do that? This is where we now talk about these PVAs. P for professional, V for values, A for attitude, and another A for the acumen. So when we talk about professional values and attitude, we are really focused on what? We are really focused on ethical leadership. So ethics is not necessarily a specific technical competence, but it is something that is expected of us. And what does it mean? It is just saying that as an ethical leader, when you are then making decisions, you need to consider your conduct, you need to consider your relationship between or amongst your stakeholders and the society at large. Meaning that in an assessment, examiners will want to then say to you, there's a decision on X. How do and what are the other factors to consider? And you need, yes, to see the general stuff, the funding, blah, blah, and so on. But we are saying that we expect you to see the impact of decisions on the key stakeholders and society at large. And this is where we're going to then spend some time unpacking things like the SAFE model, which talks about suitability of strategies, acceptability of strategies, um, feasibility of strategies, as well as the ethical dimension. And acceptability then looks at whether these decisions that we are putting on the table, is it acceptable to our stakeholders, to our people, to our employees, shareholders, and the communities at large. So that is how ethical leadership is then going to be incorporated into the course and likely into what? Into assessment. In addition to what? In addition to just thinking about it from guidelines of King Code, thinking about it from guidance of the CPC. Yes, those are nice, but remember, ethics cannot be limited to you because you're a CA. Even in your journey to CA, you might have been tempted in order to turn a blind eye on something, to ignore something, or to even be one committing that questionable element. So the idea is that you don't, as a CA, go into a company and everybody's a CA, everybody's an ethical leader, but it is upon you to have these principles and recognizing that you are a responsible leader in business and not just, say, in an audit firm, not just in a company of other CAs. Then the other element is that of lifelong learning. So lifelong learning, it's very important, especially where we are as a profession right now, because you are expected to adapt to this new assessment format. You are the first cohorts that will be sitting for it, and what will then be expected is for you to have an adaptive mindset, to say that, yes, this is new. How do I prepare myself for that? And we are realizing that sometimes that's a big ask to say that someone is going to write for an assessment that they've never seen before. Yes, you're telling me that it's still the same technical, but if then something has changed, then I need to at least have that sight of what is it, how does it look like before I go there. And you will then see that for us, this adaptive mindset is something that's quite important. And we right now, we are working through some of our old question banks, some of our previous ITC assessments, in order to really give you that experience. And you'll then get to see that in this course, you're going to have 4 opportunities to be exposed to this new assessment. So you will have those 4 opportunities, where 2 of them we will mark for you, and the other 2 it will be for you to do under exam conditions with pre-recorded content as well as that, so that we help you to build that adaptive mindset, so that by the time you go there, this new assessment format will look familiar to you. And one of the things about it, we want you at all times, it doesn't matter whether it's in class, it doesn't matter it's outside class, to have an inquisitive mind. An inquisitive mind, what it talks to, as captured in the competency framework, is the tendency to be curious. Because sometimes we might not have the answer, but we can confirm that Psycha has availed themselves and to say that, yes, you can even have the senior team's contact details, because they want to say that if there are questions that you are bringing to us and we can't answer, we will then take to Saika, so that by the time you go there, there's no uncertainty. And for us, that's one of the biggest objective about this particular program, to remove this uncertainty for you before you go there. So if there's something that you are worried about, and yes, we might not have the answer to it, we will want to make sure we give you the answer before the end of this program. So don't shy away to just raise those difficult questions. If I have the answer, or if any of my team has got the answer, we will answer those. But if we don't, we will do our best to get you that answers. And for us, because it's very important for you to be inquisitive, for you to ask the right questions. And some of the engagements or the schedule, you will see that we are part of the journey in those PsyCom Wednesday preparatory sessions, because we want to also contribute to making sure that by the time you sit, you are clear of the expectation and you become a success. Then the other element of lifelong learning is for you to take the initiative. And you'll see when we unpack the course even more closely, the course has got 3 elements. And the first one, we will then, or we see it as us doing the heavy lifting. But the other will want you to take more ownership of your own development, working through questions, asking questions, consulting, being part of the mentorship program, attending the sessions. So there will be quite a lot that we'll then expect from you. And for us, it's just to talk about that self-development aspect, to say that we want you to take that initiative and own it. Yes, one could say that, yes, the cards have been dealt, but it's up to you to still own it and make sure that come Jan 2025, you are a success at the end of that assessment. Then citizenship, as you can see, it's talking about personal citizenship, business citizenship, professional citizenship. One of the things that we are also committed to seeing in this program is enhanced engagement. We don't want us to then be or have a program where we are just talking, saying all these things, but we want it to be an engagement. We want to say that on a weekly basis, if there is something that we are going to be focused on, you are going through the material, you are asking questions, you are consulting and taking engaging with others in our platforms, engaging with fellow candidates, supporting each other, because we are all together in this. And for me, that's what citizenship is all about. Just what do you call it? That understanding, being patient, being tolerant, being responsive, all those, and recognizing that we are not the same. We don't learn at the same pace. We don't always figure things out as quickly as others, and something that sometimes that's okay, because some will then get things a little bit later, but when they do, it sticks. And those are some of the things that one just needs to be mindful of. And through the engagements we're going to have, whether it's the engagements with the lecturer, the engagements with the support team, the engagement with other candidates, we just want you to demonstrate that citizenship. So that's on the PVAs, the personal values and attitudes. Then there is another element though, which is the arguments. So again, PVAs, personal values or professional values, and um, attributes, as well as acumen. And when we talk about acumen, and this is something that we're going to unpack even more closely next week, and you're going to understand that now these arguments have been incorporated into the new assessment structure. You're going to see it in an assessment where there will be X marks, Y marks, Z marks. And next week, we're going to be talking about what do those mean? Because it's one thing to know that they said X problem solving, but what is it that they're expecting from you? How do you apply problem solving in the question that you're dealing with? Why integrated thinking? What does that mean? And how do you make sure you get those marks? So this is another big component that you're going to be seeing in the new format, that the communication mark that you used to see where it says communication mark presentation skills, communication mark logical argument, they are going to be, let's call them a little bit fancier now, because they will be talking to the arguments. So the arguments, there is what we call the decision-making acumen or critical thinking acumen. And for us, and even especially for the APC, that's one of the biggest acumen that we've been seeing as the most challenging for candidates to comprehend and for them to master. And that's why I'm saying that for me, this transformation of the ITC, it's quite a necessary and a relevant one, because it means that if you're aware of these things now, before you even sit for the APC, you now have a foundation that you can now use and leverage there. So next week, we're going to be talking about critical thinking in the context of the assessment. So here, this is where we talk about your ability to seek information from various sources, assessing its credibility, and determining its validity or veracity. And one of these requires you to have problem-solving skills, because you want to use this information in order to make sense of it, or to make sense of the other information. And that is always something that is quite valued in practice. Your ability to bring sense into things. Some of you do it as auditors through analytical reviews, and even some of you do it even more given the data-oriented environment that we are in, where there will be a bunch of data, you put it together, and you start inferring hypotheses from what? From that data. That this could be true, why, given X and Y, and so on. So that's something that we're going to talk about. And there is what is called the Socratic critical thinking style, questioning style, where now we talk about how do you think through and demonstrate critical thinking. And I promise you, it's not going to be just a lecture and we are done. Because this is something, when you talk about acumen, think about now if I say 2 plus 2, what is it? You don't even need to take your calculator. You don't even need to think. Your mind will have already told you it's 4. So that's how acumens work. You might have remembered that when you learned that, or even don't even remember that when you learned that, you had to probably take your fingers and say 1, 2, 1, 2, then 1, 2, 3, 4. But now it comes so naturally. And that's the same thing with the acumens. The acumens, when they come, they're a little bit difficult to comprehend, to understand how they fit in. That's why we've put them earlier in the program, so that by the time we get through the questions, even questions that you might not have seen, you might have seen before, we will now be demonstrating what it means to demonstrate critical thinking in them, what it means to demonstrate business acumen in them. And business acumen, simply put, is to be in context. Context is going to be very important here. Remember, the papers are going to be out of 120. You will be sitting there with one scenario for 4 hours. And you need to then be at a position of how do you process information? How do you learn about a company? What are the kind of questions you might need to ask in order to make sure you comprehend that particular scenario? Especially that you will find that there's no more reading time. How do you now take those business acumen and use it in order to understand the business that you will be dealing with? And this will be useful for management accounting, strategy, finance, audit, um, a little bit of text, but sometimes also a little bit of what? Accounting, especially in discussion format where you need to what? To apply the thinking. So that's why it's so important. Communication skills is still going to remain as one of the acumen. The way that we have seen it before is going to still be relevant for our purpose. When now they'll be judging you or evaluating your logical argument, clarity of expression, layout and structure, and appropriate style and tone to the people you're talking to. Digital acumen, this is talking to deep understanding of cybersecurity, data analytics, database, and all these fancy data issues. So this, we are not going to put a lot of effort in. We will talk briefly about it, but we will not talk in detail because SAICA has confirmed that candidates sitting for IAC 2025 do not need to be worried about that. So this will be a concern for candidates that will be sitting for IAC 2027. So for us, we don't need to be what? We don't need to be concerned. Planning an organization, that's part of exam technique. So ability to organize, apply time management, plan, and really commit to time. I mean, again, 4 hours is going to feel a little bit strange, especially given that you will have completed your CTA sitting for what? For 3-hour papers. So it's quite important that you don't find yourself thinking you've got more time and taking a little bit of what? Taking a little bit of an unorthodox approach and finding yourself not being able to finish the papers. Emotional skills still a very big component of your success because sometimes it's the nerves that steal our success. It's not necessarily that we've not studied enough. It's not necessarily that we don't know, but it's just the shock. And it's a shock because the topics that maybe you didn't expect, or the topics that you had studied and thought they would be in a particular way, in an entirely different way. So the emotional aspect is something that is also quite important. So we have external people that we currently talking to really come and help us. And as you will see later, we will be sharing in case you might have missed it, or to just make it easily accessible to you. Those sessions that Psycha will also be facilitating, because they've got some great people there, and will want you to attend and take as much as possible in this journey of yours. So that is what the CA 2025 as not CA 2025, CA of the future competency framework is all about. And therefore, what you need to understand will be expected from you. And these are then the things that we are taking and tweaking our program, tweaking our material, tweaking our content library, just to make sure that you are there. You are not surprised in terms of what? In terms of what to expect and how to handle it. But let me pause here before we jump into the new assessment format. Are there any questions? Is there anyone that wants to clarify something with regards to the CA of the future competency framework? Okay, all right, thank you. All right, so now here we are. We are now faced with what? We are now faced with this new assessment format. And I've come to appreciate that about Cycle, to say that they are using this wording to say that is the new assessment format. So it's not necessarily a new assessment, but it is the format that is changing. And that is quite important, because the current structure, yes, they saw some limitation in terms of bringing all these things together. And in some cases, they saw the success of having an assessment like the APC. And remember, the APC is one of the highly rated assessment in the world, and the entire profession at large. And now they seem to some extent to be this kind of a big jump coming from ITC to the APC. Yes, the jump will be expected, but not as significant as one could say it was. And the reason why I say it was a little bit significant is just from my experience when we speak to some of the candidates, to say that in some of our candidates, they mentioned to us that they were hearing these terms of business acumen, critical thinking for the very first time when they kicked off the APC program. And that's where then I thought, sure, it's a little bit of a big jump if you're going to be hearing it for the first time in the what and or in the final qualifying exam of your professional journey. So for me, that's why I would love for you to embrace this new assessment format, because and to see it not that I'm going to do it now and it ends, but see it as a stepping stone. See it as an opportunity for you to now be preparing for the APC as well. And because some of you, or majority of you, will then be repeating the IAC, it means that the work that you're doing now, it will make it easier even transitioning and completing the APC in 1 year. Meaning that it is still quite a reality to say that after completing Gen IAC, you then jump into an APC professional program and you continue this journey. The transition from how the new assessment format is will be a lot smoother. And I believe that the gains will be much clearer from use and the results coming from what? Coming from the APC 2025. So that's one of the things I want you to keep in mind, that this is not just limited to your preparation for Gen 2025 sitting, but it's also going to be a foundational stone for your success in APC 2025. So see it as hitting two stones with what? Hitting two birds with one stone. But all right, let's focus on where we are right now. What are we expecting? How does it look like, this new assessment format? So for the first thing, it's to be able to do what? It is to be able to see and and contrast with the current structure. So the current structure, you will remember that it's got 4 papers, each out of 100 marks. And they were written over 4 sittings, but over a 2-day period. That is something that is clear and obvious about that. Now, the new assessment structure is going to be 3 papers in 3 sittings, and the days are going to be shorter. So I don't know whether that excites you. To say that the days, when I say the days are shorter, because remember that day 1 for ITC, you come there, you have to be seated in the morning. Sometimes you have to arrive at 7:30. Assessment starts at 8:30. You then go through a 3-hour, take a long break, which sometimes can be frustrating, where now you're thinking about what's going to come. You are hearing people reflecting on the paper from yesterday, from the morning session. So now it's going to be 1 sitting per day. So come in, write 4 hours, you are done for day 1. Then same thing tomorrow, same thing on the final day. Yes, it does demand a little bit more, because 3 days also sounds like quite a bit compared to 2 days. But the fact that it's going to just be 4 hours now, it does have some gains in the structure. And the other thing about the previous, what do you call it? The previous ITC is that you never knew going in whether you're going to get 2 scenarios or you're going to get a full scenario. Because sometimes that can also trip you off. Just that navigation to say that now I have 2 scenarios to walk through. So if one is a little bit heavy to read, now I have to read and understand another company within that 3 hours. But here they're saying that no, you will have only 1 scenario. And that's why I was saying that business acumen integrated thinking is going to be the norm. And that's why you will then even find in our course, we have built the second phase to be integrated thinking phase. Because we want you to really adapt. We want you to see it as a norm, to say that, guys, we have a single integrated scenario. Because if it's 3 papers, then you know if there's not going to be a day where it's just accounting, a day where it's just going to be audit and math. It's not going to be that. It means that each paper now has an opportunity to be integrated in a manner that we have not seen before. So that is something that one needs to recognize. That yes, it does help to know that I'm not going to have to deal with 2 companies in under 3 hours. Yes, I've got 1, but more importantly is that one will be integrated. Then the other, it's that idea of there was that 30 minutes reading time, which was always a question mark for some to say, what am I supposed to do in that 30 minutes reading time? I'm ready to write. So now the reading time and the writing have been integrated, meaning that the moment you get in, you will have the required. You will know what they are going to be asking you. And therefore, you will have the mind to say that when I go read the scenario, there are specific things that I'm looking for. And we will therefore want to then empower you in the second phase to say, how do you translate that required into a bunch of question marks, into a bunch of frameworks that you will need to populate? What do I mean? I mean that if I ask you that discuss the factors that you will need to consider before we acquire this company. So in your mind, I will then want you to say that in this scenario, I have to be looking for whether there is an alignment with the strategic objectives of the two companies they're talking about. So that means when the key starts now, say, company A is this, I'm looking, what are you doing? What are your product lines? And so on and so on. So those are the things that we're going to then focus on when we talk about exam technique, because we want you to then embrace that. Yes, we had it back in the years and it changed, but now we are back and we're excited about it. But we want to make sure before you go there, you are really clear about how to benefit the most from having that required, having read it first, and then going to the scenario. Because sometimes for some, it could be a little bit daunting because you might be thinking that, sure, what if I read and the things that I'm supposed to look for, or I don't know what to look for, and I feel like I'm going to waste my time rereading the scenario and so on and so on. So that is something that we are going to work together on and ensure that what? Ensure that you have a working system. And the benefit is that they've added what? They've added 20 marks of the paper in the marks, and according to the current regime, each mark is equated to what do you call it? Each mark is equated to 1.8 from a timing perspective and 1.5 from a writing perspective. So because the paper was 100 marks and you had 180 minutes, 180 minutes, yes, 180 minutes being the 3 hours. But now they've added 20 minutes, but then they've given you an extra hour, which is something that it is something that I want you to embrace and get excited about, because it does put somewhat less pressure from a timing perspective. But one of the things that we have seen and spoken about quite a lot as academics is that integrated thinking requires more power, brain power to process. So you might find that you are a little bit slow because you are busy reading the scenario and trying to think, could this be manic? Could this be this? Could this be this? And that requires a little bit more time. So for me, it's something that I'm happy about, that they were mindful to not just compensate you for the additional what? For the additional 20 marks that they were adding, but they recognize that given that it's a single scenario, it's integrated, you might need that extra processing power in order to do it, in order to get through the volume and the integrated nature of the paper. So that is something that I'll also want you to be mindful of and make sure you start getting the benefits right. That's why for me, working through these exams under exam conditions will then be so crucial. So the papers that I mentioned, I will not want you to use them for anything else, but I'll want you to use them for these particular papers, get yourself ready for working under those conditions. Then, a couple of things on these PVAs. So yes, we've now spoken about these PVAs. So when they talk about them being assessed, I hope that you are clear about what it means. And I clarified that what digital acumen, they've confirmed in black and white that it will not be assessed in any of the papers, even in theory or in practice. Theory in means that they will not ask you what does digital affinity mean. They will not ask you what is the difference between data analytics and data engineering. So in theory, no. And also in application, no. We have started seeing it from an APC perspective, and it's always quite interesting. It feels like cats now outside audit, so that's how it feels. It's like the other side of cats. So it's a very interesting element when we explore it and hear this commitment from SAICA to say that you don't need to worry about it for next year. It's a very good thing. Then they said that the level of integration will remain as has been seen in recent ITC exams. And the choice of words, again, for me, it's important. Recently, we have seen quite a lot of integrated papers in the ITC. So if they are saying that it will remain the same, we have seen them integrating all 4 disciplines in one paper. So that is something that when I read the statement, I take to say, don't think about integration and say that since it's 3 papers, maybe today they will integrate audit and tax, tomorrow they might integrate this and that. No, always expect the West to say, I might walk in and they have all 4 disciplines in it. Then I might get out from day 1, go to day 2, come back to find all disciplines in there. Come out from day 2, go to day 3, same thing. So the level of integration, it is something that is important, and I'll therefore want us to always see when it's light and when it's when it's too demanding. And we're going to have a mixture of both so that you build up those integrated thinking skills, but even more, you become comfortable. That if you don't find that they've integrated, you say, that paper was not as exciting because you were expecting that level of integration that we have seen. Then they said that there will be limited assessment of the PVAs other than PVAs which include communication skills. So here is a very interesting statement because now the PVAs, as you saw, they include integrated thinking, business acumen, and all these things. But the idea is that some of them, as much as we are saying that they will not be assessed, they are embedded into the thinking. And what do I mean? Strategy questions by nature are business acumen competencies or acumens. So, because they will require you to understand the company. When they say that, will this strategy be successful? What are the other factors to consider? So the integrated nature of the acumens will be clear. But one of the things that they have plans about this new format is that it will still grow to get to the level of of the APC. APC, one of the things about it is that the level of critical thinking there can be quite demanding because, for instance, it requires you to not trust the examiners at all. Like the examiner can never be trusted because almost everything has to be questioned. So it's like you never know when the examiner is telling you the truth and when the examiner expects you to challenge their truth. So that's one of the things that that we are not expecting at this particular point, but we are expecting you to think in an integrated manner, in a critical manner. And you're going to see how we then use those arguments in the previous ITC papers so that you can start seeing that if these things I knew about them before, if these things I had understand them like this or understood them like this, I will have then come out a success. Then they talk to us about some of the things that they're going to be doing later on, incorporating the public sector, digital acumen, PBAs in an integrated manner. And they're also thinking about what, let's call it a mini APC. So this mini APC is going to be part of the 3-day, but like the APC, there will not be any marks. You'll then just get there and there will be a couple of tasks. They were even talking about having a scenario when you leave so that you can prepare for it in a day in between and come back to that. So it's not something that I want you to be worried about or thinking or planning for. Maybe if you want your kids to be CAs, you can, you can expect them to be there, but not you. So this is 2026, 2027 problems. So let's not even invest time here. So there was that slide. Where is it? So let me just quickly jump here. So here we've been talking about integration, and for me it's all about that because I always want to be the CA that they expect me to be. So when they tell me about integrated thinking, I go to their documents and understand what they want from me. And I always love it when they give me things in black and white because it helps me to better prepare. It helps me to have a reasonable expectation. So SAICA in their documents, they defined these two terms when they refer to integration. They have what they call integration and integration. And that's how they write them. They write them with the capital A and they write the other one with capital ER in it to say that's what makes the two to be different. And they say that when we talk about integrated thinking, this is where we are. Then they say that this is their term, by the way, which means, so we're starting with capital letter A1, which means in the context of a qualifying assessment like the IAC, solving problem using more than one competency from a single competency area. So here, you are doing what? You are using more than one competency from a single competency area. I have asked you to evaluate this valuation. Now, in that valuation, there is a work. When you are reviewing that work, I want you to bring me your principles of what? Your principles of cost of capital. But when you review the rest of it, I want you to give me the understanding of your principles of valuation. But because I'm acquiring another company, bring in your understanding of mergers and acquisition synergies. So that is you right now doing what? That is you solving the problem of reviewing that valuation using more than one competency. Your competence in cost of capital, competence in valuation, competence in mergers and acquisition, but from a single competency area, which is financial management. That's integration. So this task, therefore, can require candidates to use and draw on more than one item of knowledge from more than one competency, but from within a single specific competence area. Then the second one is integration, which means now solving problem using more than one competency from more than one competency area. Review this NPV. One of the line items there is capital allowances. I want you now to take off your math hat and wear your tax hat and start challenging whether we should be getting this capital allowance. Do we really qualify for them? What makes us to qualify for them? And you are now dealing with tax. You now deal with the residual value and the recoupment from a tax perspective. But after you are done, next line, you are thinking that it's a working capital item, you are back in math and in the topic working capital. So that is integration. And we see it sometimes where they tell you about what? They tell you about, what do you call it? About a transaction. This company is acquiring this other company, review the valuation. The second task or the second question, account for the business combination transaction. Does this meet what? The definition of fair value measurement. So now, as you can see, we are dealing with a particular scenario and we are calling different competencies from multiple competence area. So when we talk about integrated thinking, this is what SAICA is saying we need to master. So that's what I wanted to just have a mind of, to say, when we say integrated thinking, I don't want to assume that you know what I'm talking about, because what I'm talking about has to be clarified. I could mean something else, but for us to make sure we are all on the same page, we go back to the frameworks that SAICA have issued and we look to them for guidance. But yeah, that is the new assessment structure. Any questions there? Okay. All right, all good. All right, great. Thank you so much. Then now the course. So we taking all those into account. We've put a course that has got 4 pillars. So we want you, when you come out, to say that you have further developed from a technical perspective. You understand some of these topics better than you used to. That's number one. Number two, we want you to then have a greater appreciation of the pervasive skills, being the PVAs, understanding the significance of your communication, understanding the significance of your critical thinking, understanding the significance of business acumen in answering a what? In answering a scenario. And we want you to be able to translate all this understanding into effective examination technique so that you are able to apply all these things in and under exam conditions. But at the same time, we want you to recognize that this is an exam and it too shall pass. Yes, sometimes these exams have got too much at stake. You have invested significantly financially, you have invested in terms of your sacrifices, you have invested in terms of your time away, because to get time away, you might need to work extra overtime and all these things. So this can be sometimes a little bit draining, and we want to ensure that it's not something that we ignore. It's not something that we say you just have to push on. But we want to make sure you've got a partner in this particular journey. So we've really gone back and applied ourselves, redrafted, consulted, engaged in order to ensure that if there are things that we know you need, but we don't have them within our team or within the organization, it should not stop us from delivering those things to you. So that's why there will be quite a lot of external speakers that will then be engaging with you. And one of the things about them is that some of them are not are recent candidates. They are candidates that some of them have gone through and have had to overcome failure. Some of them have had to succeed under some difficult circumstances. So they are going to partner with us in this particular course and make sure that they impart their knowledge, they impart some of the practical skills, because the course and this journey does not only happen in the classroom, but majority of it sometimes happens when you are alone doing that question that is just frustrating, asking for leave, having other colleagues do well, while you're not doing well. So there is quite a lot that really is part of this journey. And we just want to make sure that you've got the best support. You've got someone who you can talk to, someone who can support you, someone who can encourage you, someone who can hold your hand and ensure that you cross the finish line in good peace. So you're going to see some of the things that you can expect in this particular course. But in terms of the execution of these four things, we then broke the course down into three integrated phases. One, it is the developing or entrenching or rebuilding your technical knowledge and building your pervasive skills. Two, it is mastering examination technique. And three, it is mastering the new format of the assessment. So that's the program that we have put together, and we want you to embrace it, and we want to partner with you in order for you to be a success. It's all about you. So the success of the program is driven by you. So we have a vested interest in seeing you as a success. We want you to pass. We want you to really learn the skills that are beyond just your January 2025 sitting. So now to unpack those three phases a little bit more. When we talk about technical competence and pervasive skills, which is part of phase one, we have put together a number of resources. And the major resources are these five that I've put here. So firstly, there will be lectures, with the first ones being the lectures from next week. And this lecture, or through these lectures, you will then do what? You will then be able to, to engage, work through questions, unpack some of the technical detail, and see how we think through in an integrated manner and using our business acumen. Then you have what we call a mini question bank. We're going to call this a mini question bank. And this is a soft copy question bank. It will then be linked to what we call a face note. A face note will then unpack for each discipline to say, in phase one, we have building technical competence and pervasive skills. So the question bank will then be the question that will be used in that phase. And most of the questions here will be discipline driven. So there will be an accounting face note linked with an accounting question bank, math question bank linked with math face note. So we are focusing on developing your competence. And one of the things that we have now done, and so that we are intentional, we have put the topics on what? On the timetable to help you to prepare from saying you want to watch CTA videos. That if you see that we are going to focus on valuation, you know you need to be watching videos on valuations. Then we also have consultations from the beginning of the program, because we are understanding that you are not just here for the first time, but you are at a point where it's a journey that is continuing. So we don't want to reserve it for much later. So consultations will then be included in your tuition fee and will kick off as early as what? As early as November. And we'll monitor it to just make sure that there are enough resources to support you with that. But according to our current schedule, which we'll then see once you are fully onboarded, is that we'll be having them on Mondays and Friday, and we'll monitor to see if there's more demand, and also to just make sure what you are well empowered in that regard. Then we are also busy developing just PVA videos, which will also be complemented by the lectures we're going to have next week. So in these PVA videos, we're just going to unpack a little bit more on those PVAs I've mentioned, appreciating that, yes, in some cases, we're going to limit your application to the new assessment structure and to what we have seen even in the previous ITC. Then from a technical perspective, we are also, you are also going to get access to the CTA entire library. So even the things that you might not see in the timetable, you will have the opportunity to go to it and revise on your own. So that is something that you can do through the CTA videos. So from a technical perspective, you've got these 5 resources at your disposal in order to make sure you are well empowered at the end of the day. Then from an exam technique perspective, so this is very, very important for us. So we've gone through the first phase. We've gone through the lectures, gone through your CTA videos. Now we are saying, let's apply all these things. You now know what is pervasive skills. So I want you to know and not to actually demonstrate to your examiners or to your lecturers, and just be confident enough to say, applying my critical thinking here, I believe this is how we should be tackling this question. And given that the scenario said this, I'm now thinking that this strategy might not make sense, blah, blah, blah. So that is the idea right here, to say that we want you to then be applying all those things that form part of what we've covered in the first phase. So how do we do this? So now come this phase, you're going to have one question bank. So this we call the integrated question bank. So now integration will be the order of the day. So come December to the end of the program, you are now going to be dealing with only questions that are integrated in nature, meaning that you should make it a norm to say, today I think I want to do accounting and math. I want to do audit and tax. I want to do tax and accounting. So it should never be, because we want you to get ready for integrated thinking. So the last 2 months will therefore be the shock that you might get rather than the shock in the actual assessment. So we want you to then get it through your system. And I think people that go to gym call it muscle memory or something like that, that we want it to be second nature. So you should never, you should actually be uncomfortable if there's no integration. So that's what we want. So there will be one question bank, and each and every question in there will be integrated. Then this question bank, when it's delivered to you, it will come with an envelope. And that envelope will then have the 2 papers along with their solutions that we will want you to attempt under exam conditions. We are thinking that your Christmas plans are spend time with family for 1-2 days and then get back to it. So we are hoping that maybe you'll find your first 3 days to attempt one of the paper in December. And you'll then find the other 3 days somewhere in Jan. So that is our hope. And we want to, and that's why we are saying, because we know 3 days, it's a lot of time. I mean, this is just you sitting. It's a lot of time. So that's why we have just those 2. So with these 2, additionally, we're going to do pre-recorded sessions. So you are not going to have classes on them. You're going to have pre-recorded sessions where we walk you through everything that we will have then walked through. How to apply critical thinking, how to apply your technical knowledge, how to demonstrate you've got business acumen, how to demonstrate effective communication skills. So that is what we are going to do. So the question banks we'll attempt, but so we'll attempt some of them together in December. I think there's about 2 or 3 sessions in December where we're going to be attempting those together so that you get comfortable, you get guidance, you ask a question and demonstrate that lifelong learning attitude. So that's 1. Then 2, you're going to have preparatory exams. The first one is in December. We call it the baseline. And after assessing our capacity, people's plans, and so on, we realized that December, almost everyone is tired. So we could not do a 3-day paper. We are just going to do a 2-day paper there. But it will still be in the new assessment format structure. So there will be 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, where you'll then sit for that paper. And we know that for religious reasons, some can do Sunday, some can do Saturday. So you'll then have an opportunity to write and submit the last one on a Monday, which is something that is embedded in the design. But what I want you to therefore get is to please commit. Don't come with that attitude of, I just want to see. No, I want you to say, I'm going to treat it as if it's it. So that attribute, that attitude of self-development, I want you to own the assessment that is scheduled for December. So that assessment, we've given ourselves 2 weeks because we want to make sure when we close, we are closing on the 18th of December. We want to make sure when we close, you have your feedback. So it's going to be a little bit of a marathon. And that's why we then said, let's keep it to 2 papers so that our team can deliver on that. Then come Jan first weekend, we are back and you got a formal 3-day assessment. So that means you need to start negotiating if you have not secured it already the first Friday of the month. So when others are celebrating their new year, you'll be celebrating your new assessment format that you're going to be sitting for on the 5th, 6th, and 7th of Jan. Okay? And that one, we will be what? We will be marking as well. We've given ourselves 2 weeks so that we finish about the 15th, marking it, or somewhere around there, so that you have almost a full week to work through it. So that is something that we've committed to. We've really done quite a lot to improve our processes and ensure that we meet those deadlines and we ensure that you have your feedback in a timely manner. And I'm going to share some of those things with you before we close today. The simulated exams, I've already spoken about them, that there will be 2 of those. Then in addition, we're going to have what we call question bank videos. So the question bank videos, I've mentioned some, but in the integrated question bank, there will be some questions that will have pre-recorded component that you can work through. So the previous feedback has been that those are very useful because sometimes you do a question and you're just like, I don't know how you guys got here. I was here and you now are there. How did you get here? So those question bank videos do help. So we are busy just organizing so that it's simple and to navigate during the holidays so that you don't find yourself in the tricky situation of you don't know what to do, where to go, and you're a little bit stuck. So we're going to do quite extensive review to just make sure you've got all the resources you need for that December holiday. Sorry, my laptop is battery turned off. It's not what do you call it? It's not load shedding. ESCOM is still on its track record, so I will not want to give it a bad name. It's me. All right. Let me just quickly share again. Hmm. I think I'm back. Let me just make sure. All right, cool. Thank you. Where was I? Yes, yeah. As I was saying, the question bank videos and the consultations are still going to be there. And one of the things that you're gonna see is that majority of the classes are in November, and December slows down a bit. So I mentioned earlier that we're going to be monitoring the private engagements, the private consultations in November. If we then see that there's a little bit more demand, we will then slot it in those additional days that we don't have sessions in December. Because December, it's mostly, as I was saying, the review session for the exam you're going to write, and also an integrated question discussion. So those are some of the things that you can expect them. Then from our wellness pillar, so we are finalizing our mentorship structure. So we expect it to kick off somewhere in the second week of October, of November. So just after 1 or 2 weeks after the program is kicked off, you will then be able to then receive guidelines of how to go about selecting a mentor. So our mentors are already in our system. So selecting them is quite an easy process. You'll get guidance in written as well as video, but there will be a little menu where you can just go view the profiles of the different mentors. And if you find someone that you like and that they are available, you'll then be able to select them. The process that it's automated, you then get what a notification. A notification is sent to your prospective mentor, and you also get guidance in terms of how to go about engaging and getting the best out of your mentorship program. Because sometimes it might be just a program, but because mentorship by design it's part of the relational acumen. When I talk about relational acumen, that's one of the acumens as well, which is all about connecting with others. And to some, it comes naturally, and to some, not so much. And what we've then observed is that some guidelines help, especially if you are doing mentorship for the very first time, or even your mentor is doing mentorship for the very first time, like how to go about breaking the ice, how to agree on communication platforms, how to agree on timing. Because I've had candidates who will say that, oh, my mentor just calls me in the evening. And I was like, why are you calling me in the evening? So it's those kind of things that are small, but if they are not well observed, they do impact the effectiveness of the mentorship program. But I can assure you that the people that we have are very committed. They were as heartbroken as most of us when the results for June were as they were. And they are really committed to partnering with us and partnering with you to just help you to really overcome this assessment on your next sitting. So I'll encourage you to give it a shot, to give it your best. If you want to talk to someone about it first, the caretakers are there. They can guide you. They can even share some of the experience so that you can better navigate this. Sometimes we do understand that people are people. Sometimes and life happens. Sometimes we might have someone that might be initially committed and they're no longer available. So yeah, some of those glitches are still part of the program. So we will want you to just be aware and always connect with us and make sure that make sure that you do give it your very best, and we'll do our best on our side. Then we have a number of candidates that we have scheduled to join. And one of the things that we've seen to be quite helpful is not to have these as separate sessions, but to really have it as part of the technical sessions. So in your timetable, you're gonna find, or in the face note rather, you're gonna find that some classes might start, say, at 8:30 or 9 o'clock, because in the first initial session, there might be a candidate that want to share some practical guidance, someone who might want to share their journey, and for you to just ask in terms of how to overcome some of maybe the personal challenges that you might have had. So it does help, and some of those people are our mentors. So you might then maybe find a mentor there and say, "Oh, this is the person that I would like to be connected with on a continuous basis." And if they've raised their hand for mentorship, it always helps to then connect with them. Then coaching support, we then are looking to just engage some of the external providers that have got coaching experience, expertise, so that some of the more challenging aspects or something that requires just a little bit structured support, they will then be able to offer those. Then we've also enhanced our check-in processes to just say that, yes, this is how we want to be able to check in. We've built internal processes in order to be able to be more alert and to be more aware and to be able to respond better to things that might be getting out of hand, rather than to wait until the end of the program or at a point where someone is saying that, sure, they don't want to sit for this particular assessment and all these things. So those are some of the things that we've put into the program, and the caretakers are very committed to just supporting you throughout the journey. You'll get to see, even in the workspace, there is a welcome banner, sort of a wellness banner or a wellness platform, where you'll then find some daily tips, find some just that motivation, find some quotes from our previous candidate conversations, from our previous candidates, and just some of influential people. So it's really an integrated program that we've put together in order to just ensure that by the time we get to the end, you really get to find your best self, because sometimes that's what it needs. It does not mean, it does not need much more. You just need to find your best self, that in spite of the doubts, in spite of the fear, you need to find that best self that will be able to really stand in the midst of it all. Because sometimes it's almost an impossibility to say that we can talk out fear, we can talk out the nerves, but it's all about finding oneself and being able to really succeed amidst those things. Then, yeah, so that's that in a nutshell. 3 phases: one with a technical and pervasive pillar, second, exam technique pillar, and lastly, the wellness pillar. So those are those are the pillars that we have really thought are critical to your success, and that we have committed ourselves in order to what? In order to ensure that we are able to deliver an effective and impactful course for you. And we are mindful that we don't want to just deliver a course specifically for Jan 2025 IAC, but that will contribute to being a responsible leader in business. Then, lastly, it's the course administration. So the cost administration, as I was saying, we've had to really go back to our processes, relook in terms of a lot of things that used to work but were not working as well as we have wanted recently, and make sure that we learn from yourselves, we learn from our team, and we learn from our external team as the candidate, as the academic team, to just make sure that we are able to deliver not just only an impactful course, but a well-administered program. So one of the things that we realized was really the collection of information at different points in the program. And one of the things that we have now done is to restructure our registration to collect the majority of the information at the point of registration. And the idea here is that we will then have everything to be able to execute on the design of the program that we need. So the registration platform, you might find it's a little bit lengthy now, but for some of you that were with us, you'll know that there was something that we used to call the Know Me Better that we used to use in order to collect some key information. And this time around, we don't have that. Everything that we need will be here. You've got the information to deliver your packs. We've implemented an SMS system that we're going to be also using as part of deliveries. We're also going to use that as part of resetting your passwords, as well as sharing information about finance. So that's some of the things that through the registration platform we've managed to collect, and we're able to use that information in order to just deliver a more streamlined process. Then number two, it is we have a new platform that we've been working on in order to launch as part of the 2025 academic year. So this is then the first official program that will be using that platform, but we have launched it for the 2024 candidates as a pilot to just get some of the feedback and iron out some of the issues that we've seen. That process has proved to be very useful. And this new platform is quite an easy one and familiar, especially so because most organizations have come to adopt SharePoint as their primary content distribution tool. So we have adopted SharePoint as part of that as well. So the videos are easily accessible, the material easily accessible, and at a press of a button, you can download material, have them on your desktop. And what it means that even after the class, to get the recorded videos to you, it's even much more efficient. We're able to do it with a press of a button. So there are quite a lot of gains that this really has, so that we are able to deliver a much more smoother course administration. And one of the things with SharePoint is just the distribution of content, as I was saying, helping us to get the scripts to our markers more quicker, more efficiently, secured, and also giving them the ability to mark and get you the feedback that you need in a more streamlined manner. And what it means that everything now is centralized, that when you are in the SharePoint, you're able to see what we call your personal folder. You're able to access your documents there. You're able to access your scripts that have been marked, as well as your feedback reports. So everything is now sitting under one roof just to simplify that particular process. Then the next thing is also the next thing about it, it's also the engagement platform. The engagement platform is also integrated into the SharePoint. That there's a button which you click and you end up at Viva Engage. So with Viva Engage, you then have your announcement page. You then have your your key updates on the program. You are able to ask questions on any technical matters, able to ask questions on any of the administration processes or administration guidelines, and even the way that it looks. It's meant to be a little bit intuitive, having limited menu items, and having more descriptive menu items to help you to find your way with ease. And then the query tool, given that we've now fully adopted this Microsoft system, the query tool, one of the things that we now have is that you no longer need what do you call it? You no longer need a candidate ID. Because you are logged in into our system, the system knows you and it's able to link all your information to the registration. So when you submit an assessment, you just need to upload it, click submit, and it will know that this is Rendani. Rendani is in the IAC program. Rendani's submission is to go to Rendani's folder. So it's a little bit of a smart system in that regard, and this is just all powered through this my Microsoft tools. So the registration, when you register, it will say that your student ID, it's your actual ID or passport number you put in them. But you'll only need that if you require things that are a little bit more sensitive. That will be your passwords. If you've lost your password and need support, just to make sure that no one gets access to your account, we will then do it. We will then probably ask for that. If someone wants, say, your results, if someone wants your statement, they will need such information that we have on record before we share something like that. So that's you're gonna need on a very secured basis, but on a day-to-day, your email will get you there. And your account is secured through a second factor authentication. You are required to enter and secure your account through either a Microsoft Authenticator or through an SMS. Where now, when you log in or when you reset your password, the OTP is sent to your what? To your cell phone number. So those are some of the things that we've now implemented. Then WhatsApp, as you will see here, we have now deleted it. We've ran into so many problems with WhatsApp. And the reality is that it was no longer working with the number of candidates we are now having. Things were falling through the cracks and undermining the experience that we would like for it to be delivered. So with the Viva Engage, you're able to reach to the support team. So this is the support team that we will have. We've got a dedicated online person that you can reach out to, very efficient, Vanessa. We've got Claire, who will be caretaker, assisting with all the announcement, connecting you with all the resources that you need. And Vanessa is there to help you to navigate the new workspace if you get stuck. And before you jump into the program, we've got Kamu, who's our registration consultant that looks after you and makes sure that anything you need, invoices, any clarity about what you need, he is there to then support you in that regard. So the team work closely together, they understand some of the things, but the reason we have a query tool is because there are things that are a little bit technical that they are not always able to solve. And we've got the team behind that. We're busy building the team even further, where we just have the team looking at our queries and making sure that we meet our commitments and the service quality when it comes to just addressing your commitments. Then with finance as well, we've improved some of the processes in terms of including a link and also appointing a external service provider who will be managing the accounts for us on an ongoing basis, just to send statements, update your corporates if needed be, just to say that, yeah, if your firm is paying or if your firm needs an update on the accounts, they are the ones that are going to help us with that. Then we've got face notes. Face notes. Previously, we used to have what we call technical note and a program note. Now, what we have now done is we have integrated the two to have what we call a face note. So a face note will incorporate both the administrative aspects of the program as well as what? As well as the technical aspect. So you'll only need one document in order to be able to navigate the program. And the way the program has been designed is that even in phase one, where we have different technical phases, the phase notes that you're going to get are really driven around a particular technical area. So there will be a phase note for math, phase note for accounting, phase note for audit, and so on and so on. Then come the phase two, there will be one single phase note, and then come phase three, there will be another single phase note. This will include the list of recommended questions, administrative deadlines, as well as what? As well as list of recommended questions or content that you need to cover. Then the question banks, I've mentioned that there are two sets. The first one is a digital or a soft copy one. You can download that and work through it. If you still prefer printed, you can print it and work through it. Then the second one is the one that we're going to print and deliver to you. The idea is to deliver in the last week of November, just to ensure that by the time we get to the second phase, you've got all the resources that you need. So there will be an opportunity for you to update your delivery address should it change, but you'll get a notification beforehand if we've got a problem. Maybe the details you gave us is not making sense to our team, or they're just not finding it using Google, and they will reach out and just make sure that you update those details. The update process will be quite simple. Just recapture and will replace all the information we have on record. Then the booking form for consultation, it's a very, very simplified booking form. It is also linked to your workspaces. So when you go to your workspace, you'll then find that, and you'll then be what? You'll then be able to navigate with ease to book the consultations with our respective respective teams. There are also videos that we are preparing just to make sure that by the time you're onboarded, you are able to find yourself with ease. But just on a high level, this is how it looks like. So I'm sharing my screen right now. So this is how it looks like in terms of just the announcement, in terms of the engagements with the team, and in terms of the library for the content, and in terms of just navigating, finding the face notes, the class links, the assessments, and the timetable. So this is how then on a high level it will look like. So that everything just becomes a less of a hassle. So those are some of the things that we're just finalizing in order to simplify your journey. Administration is such an important part. We don't want it to take your time. We want it to be our problem, and we need to resolve it for you before it becomes a problem for you. So this is then the space that you will then be loaded on. I think the last set of preparation will probably be this weekend. So if we meet our deadlines, it means you will then or get loaded over the weekend. Otherwise, everybody can expect to be loaded by Monday. But we will provide support. Vanessa is there at any point. If you are stuck and say, Vanessa, I'm struggling to log in. Vanessa, I'm struggling to do this. Is telling me this. She is well acquainted with it, and she will be able to support you throughout. And as I was saying, one of the things that you're going to get will then be this OneDrive. And OneDrive is your personal OneDrive. And this is where all your documents, submissions, your registration details, and so on will be sitting. And so you'll get to explore it with her, with Vanessa, and also we'll do a quick high-level overview in our early classes next week so that everybody is properly onboarded, so that come the time where you need to work on your own, you've got everything intact. So yes, so that's the majority of what we wanted to talk to tonight. So that's the majority that we wanted to talk to tonight. Let me just do this and go back to the presentation and finalize. Then the last thing is the tuition. So as you know, SciComm has confirmed to us that they've reached out. For those that were part of the Tutuka system, so this process it's much simpler. We are very happy about it. And so at most, what we're going to require from you is your exam letter, at most. So everything we have. So there are no application, there are no contracts, there are no threats, clawbacks. You don't need to pay back any money if it doesn't work out. So it is. I don't want to say no strings attached because I want to attach some strings. The strings that I want to attach is for you to just continue to be committed. Because sometimes it's always unfortunate that it's your journey, and you find that there's someone then is paying, but then there's somewhat of a mismatch in terms of commitment. If there's anything that we can do, maybe you want us to present the program to employers, so that maybe they can do that. Please don't hesitate to reach out. It's something that we are open to doing it. Some of them we already speak to them as part of our APC engagements. So we might know some people that might be understanding. And interestingly enough, they've been reaching out to say, where's the program? Where's the program? We want to make sure our candidates are in it. So the employers have also raised their hand to say that they want to support you. But if you are saying that it might help just to say, send them the timetable, tell them that we'll be writing this assessment and that it'll be crucial for me to prepare for it. We are more than happy to assist. So don't hesitate. You can drop a query to our MD, and then she will coordinate with the respective corporates if we are able to help. But we are committed to assisting in that regard. But as I was saying, SAICA funding is there. The requirement that SAICA has set, they have confirmed that they want you to be sitting, so you don't necessarily need to be a South African citizen. You need to just be sitting for SAICA IAC. So they recognize that there are those candidates that will be sitting for ICAS as well as for ICANN. So unfortunately, those do not qualify. It's only for those that will be sitting for a SAICA assessment. And it's because it's coming from the training SAICA training levy, and the training firms are in South Africa, and therefore that's where it's coming from. So they then want that to be the first requirement, and two, to have achieved what? To have achieved at least 160 marks in the recent sitting. If you didn't, you can reach out to them. You can write a motivation letter, especially for those that find themselves, say, in the 159, 158, 157 bracket. So that's all to SAICA's discretion. But please, if you are there, you can write them a motivation to say that you would like to be considered. If they give the green light, then we will then also give you that green light. Then we also have, if you are with us, there is a retaining discount that we have incorporated. So the retaining discount plus the SAICA tuition, the SAICA funding, equates to you not paying anything. The only thing that in the registration that you need to confirm is that, yes, you were with us, so that finance can pull those records. And number two, we're going to need that exam letter just to validate that, you do meet the requirements. But that's it. No application form that you have to fill, and no any other hoops that you have to really jump through. Then for the new candidates, there is a fee that is payable, and that is about 950 per month for the next 3 months. So that is the fee that is applicable. So it's 950 times 3 in total. That is the fee that is applicable for new candidates. But for those that are retaining, there will be no tuition that is applicable, but they will still be expected to register, confirm those particular details. But we're just going to send those in a formal email tomorrow to everyone that was in this particular session to confirm all those things. But other than that, that is it for tonight. I thank you for your time. Kamo is available, or this closing registration. Yes, there is a closing registration, especially for the SAICA funding, because to SAICA, they say that they want to have the program to be impactful. And one of the things that they want to ensure is people join the program as early as possible. So it's very, very, very important that you make a decision as early as possible. I'll just ask the team to just confirm tomorrow in writing when is that registration date. But to confirm, we're going to send the first SAICA, the first list to SAICA next week, Friday, and we'll need to confirm when the last list will come, because they want to also organize the funding before they close for December, and also to make sure that everyone is in the program. So there is an opportunity window. Please don't be left out of that. And so all those details of the admin, will have them, and we'll share them via detail, just to thank you for attending the session and any other thing that the team has picked up. But yes, thank you so much from my side. I see we are past the time. So thank you for your patience as well, and have a good evening. please reach out, and Carmen team will be able to assist. All right. Thank you, and cheers, everyone. Dream text T. Yeah, T. Just provide your details to come as well. You will be able to assist. But I can confirm. We were a little bit delayed. Shame. We were a little bit delayed in terms of that. But I'll just check with our MD, and I'll personally return to you. So please reach out to come on those numbers he shared, and then I will then be able to get through. USD fees, sure. That I think is not a problem. That's not a problem. Yeah, but I think give those queries to Camo, and then Camo will then pass them along. But we'll definitely look into seeing how best we assist you. Okay, I see a hand before we leave. Sure. Hold on, hold on. Is that a hand? Oh, okay. Camo, you shared your details, right? Let me just but yeah, and oh yeah, his details. So the admin email goes to him. Yes. So if you drop an email to admin, he's the one that gets it. Yeah. So you'll be that. All right, cool. We'll do. Yeah. So all the numbers that are on the website, they go directly to you. Yes. Yeah, now I just remember. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And have a good one. Is there a timetable available yet? Yes, there is. The timetable has been loaded. It's available online on the website. When you click the timetable button, it should load. Have a good night. Thank you so much. Cheers.